I'm going to turn my microphone on, Swell, and we'll just give it a wee second for boys to show up, if anyone shows up. It normally takes a wee minute, so it does for anyone to show up anyway, but like, it's one of those ones. See, when I'm. Oh, well, I suppose I should probably turn your audio up as well, shouldn't I? For people like, oh, James, you're talking to yourself again. Oh, no.
I can mute myself if you want.
No, it's all right. It's all right. Oh, there we go. Sneak Dude's here. So he is. Hey, Sneak Dude is Hispanic, so you might be Mexican enough as well. Come to think of it. How many more? I don't know. You somebody. But anyway. Look, let me show you guys what's going on. So, you guys kind of know John, so you do. Yeah, I haven't set up webcams for this because webcams are a nightmare, if I be honest with you. So it's one of those ones. I just, like, guys, it's one of those ones you guys would think, James, you've been doing this for years. Why do you not know what you're doing yet? It's like, look, man, I got stuff to do. Okay, I'm sorry. But anyway, look. So we've been working together for a while, and John has been doing the artwork. Oh no, no, fuck, that's why we got John here. These are all gonna laugh at me over these words anyway. Why did you not keep the name Blood and Obsidian? Or was it was Blood and Obsidian you were calling this?
Obsidian and Blood.
Obsidian Blood, yeah. Well, I can say that
because
kind of.
because there was already a novel series that someone had made that was like a trilogy already.
Oh,
they called
right.
it like they called it like Aztec Noir, and it was already taken.
Oh, right.
And I didn't want to. I guess I could have technically used it. It looked like it was still within my legal right to do it, but I don't want to be an asshole. So
Yeah, I suppose one of those
I decided to change the name. Macuahuitl was the original name I wanted, and I know it's hard for people to pronounce that.
Why try it? Well, I attempted. Do I do I get a do I get a Hispanic pass for this?
Go for it. It's all good.
You should say, like, there was one time it was Donkey Hate. What do you call him? Donkey. They were taking the piss out of me because I couldn't say him either. It's like, James, how do you not know how to say that? There was another Irish one. It was Finn McColl, but it was the actual Irish spelling. And I was like, mate, don't ask me anything of this type of stuff. Macuahuitl. Yeah, that's not too bad.
Good.
That's better
pretty
than
good.
what I thought. So anyway, who is John? What are you about? So I'll give you. Do you want me to give an introduction from what I know from my end, and then do you want to go for it, or do you want to just be like, "This is who I am"?
I could just do it. It's
All
all
right,
good.
you work away. You go for it.
So my name's John. A lot of people obviously know me as the basic expert, but I do a lot of art for games. I've been doing art for games since like 2015. Professionally, I've done work for Call of Cthulhu. I've done work for Traveler, Mongoose Traveler. Even did some work on the Expanse RPG, and a few other things as well, minor stuff. So I've been doing that for almost 10 years now at this point. And at one point, I was sort of like, it kind of sucks, like working for other people. And I've been playing games a long time. I have ideas. I have opinions. So I should just start making my own. And I could do the art. I can do the layout. I can do everything myself well enough. So I just started doing that. And I have a YouTube channel. I talk about my heart is in old school games. So like old school D&D
And
that kind of stuff.
Can I ask what's your opinions on Morkborg while we're here?
I'm not a fan, but I know you like it.
Yeah, even most of the people that watch me, it's like, James, I don't even know why we watch you at this point. Your opinions are horrible. It's like, look, I think it's fun, okay? I'm sorry, I enjoy it.
But I'm not really big on the whole like you're doing fun wrong thing. Like I really don't care. I don't really care what other people do at their tables or whatnot. I'll talk about what I think is efficient and what's worked for me.
Yeah.
But like if you're having fun with something that I don't have fun with, like who am I to tell you you're dumb or you're wrong or something?
Yeah. Here, what I will do is, do you guys want to see? This might get us into bother actually, but I'll throw it up anyway. So John did some artwork first for Death March. He's the only artist for Death March, but I'll throw this up on screen. Hopefully, I have it all set up correctly. But
there you
go. Oh yeah, it's up on screen. So yeah, there you go. This is some of John's work. I think I like it. It's very it's like a mix between like Sumerian mixed with like well, words that I could not use on YouTube, and Middle Ages, like demons and stuff. I think it's cool. I like it, so I do. But anyway, hopefully we'll get more of that. But again, look, it's one of those ones. Again, look, John's been doing this full time. And the way we're doing it is John's getting a percentage cut of Death March. And of course, because he does it full time, you can't really say to someone's like, well, do you want to like do me like a ton of art and you're not going to get paid for like months? You know what I mean? It's like, well, you know, it's going to be slow. And that's the way it is. You know what I mean? It is just going to be slow.
Hopefully after Macuahuitl, it's done really well. And hopefully I'll be able to ease back more on some of that stuff that I have to do, and I can focus on some of the stuff that I want to do.
Yeah.
And Death March is definitely one thing that I want to do. When you came to it, I'm like, this sounds like a kick-ass idea. I like this idea.
I think it's a lot of fun. I really like it. The only problem that I've got so far is some people have been complaining to me saying like, James, it's too hard. It's like, well, it's World War One. You're gonna die, okay? You know what I mean? It's like, well, you know what? If it was a different setting, maybe I wouldn't. It's like, James, you do know your artillery does like 300 points of damage, and humans are like capped at 40 hit points. It's like, yeah, you get fucking vaporized, man. That's what happens when you stand out in a field and you get hit by an artillery shell. I don't know what to tell you. It doesn't just bounce off. You die. You know.
Yeah, it's like welcome to the trenches, guys.
Yeah.
That's what it was like. Yeah.
Oh, okay. So the one thing I will say is, so before we go into this, so that is one thing I think I'm very proficient with. Would be World War One. World War One, I'm really into. It's one of the things I really sparg over. And history in general, I really enjoy. I'll be straight up with you, man. The only thing I know about Mesoamerica is what I learned from Deadliest Warrior. And I must say the sword, like, I would call it more of a club. I know you think it's a bit more of a sword. To me, it's a club. I mean, it's got sharp bits on it, but like maybe it's a mace. I don't know, but that thing's deadly. Like, that was really cool in Deadliest Warrior. So that's all I know about Mesoamerica.
Well, I mean, when I've said this on a couple other streams and interviews, the Spanish, when they arrived and they fought the Aztecs, they would, they'd charge in on the horses, and there's accounts of them saying that they had 200 Macuahuitls, and the Aztec warriors would lop off the heads of their horses on charges and stuff like that. So, I mean, these things are the obsidian is sharper than like surgical edged blades, so it's pretty gnarly.
It is, and like, by the looks of them, they look thick. You know what I mean? Like, they're not like, you know what they kind of remind me of? What do you call them? You know them, the things that like Iron Sheik would juggle? Do you know what I'm on about? You know that?
Yeah. Those weird club things.
Yeah, and they kind of like, it's like a list exercise. That's what they kind of remind me of, So, will we jump into this book, see what it's all about? And you've got it up on Kickstarter. It just got funded, and I think it's doing really well. But the reason why I also think it's doing really well is because, well, one, people like you. And the other thing is, I don't think there's anything else like it out there, is there?
I mean, in the past, there's been Mastika, and there was an adventure for old school D&D, the Lost Temple of Toma. I can never remember the name of it, Tomachan or something like that. It was just another Aztec flavored or Mesoamerican flavored dungeon module. There's been a few supplements here and there that I've seen other people make, but as far as a full-fledged game where you can play as an eagle warrior, jaguar warrior, shape-shifting.
Is this
shop?
Are these code words for furry by any chance?
Well, the Mesoamericans, the Aztecs, are the only ones that can make furries look badass.
Yeah, so. I'll give them that. I actually came across, there was one guy I was talking to, and he was trying, like, he was a furry apologist. Like, he tried to like, no man, I'm totally not a furry, but like, furries have been about since like ancient Egypt. It's like, like all the Egyptian gods, they were kind of like furries, weren't they? It's like, no man, no, don't be silly. He's like, no, but I'm telling you, and it's like, no, stop.
Here's the thing: if you went up to a jaguar warrior and you called him a furry, and then you explained to him what a furry was, he'd probably kill you.
Yeah,
so.
Yeah, I would agree with that. But see, that's one of the things that always gets me. I always wonder. I'm a big fan of like civilized versus barbarians, and like one-on-one barbarians seem to always just win, but what gives civilized societies their edge is like their regiment and all that sort of stuff. It's one of those ones I think it's so hard to like judge and stuff, and especially where like America's like the disease just does so much and all that. Honestly, I will say, like, the only thing I don't know much about Mesoamerica, as I say. The only thing I do know is like really like Native Americans. I think I know. Nah, I'm not going to even try to lie to you. I'm not professional with that, but I know some of the names. Okay. Anyway. Yeah, John's a scaly. Oh no, Victor's
No.
here to bully you. So look, will we just jump into this and see what it's all about? So this is for White Box, yeah?
Yep. So 0E OD&D white box rule set. So really, really old school D&D is what is under the hood of this game.
So let's go on down. Do you want me to just go slowly through it, and you just, if there's anything like, what is it that makes the what's the biggest selling point? Is it the setting? Is it that you've converted everything? Is there any specific rules to this? Is there anything, like, what do you think it is that makes people want to buy this?
I think the setting is a big part. Obviously, I did a lot of research into that. A lot of effort went into doing the research for this. The other thing I think is like the conversion of classes and things like that. New spells for old school D&D. Character generation. Lord Mateus in chat just pointed that out. Character generation is even so. You roll your 3d6 for your ability scores, your attribute scores, but beyond that too, the Aztec zodiac sign also affects your character for better or for worse. So, because they were very, they were very much believers of how are the stars aligned on the day that you were born and the day that you're named.
Well,
that will affect the rest of your life.
They're very good at it, though. Like, they could lead them very well. And I think that is another thing. I think a lot of people don't give them credit for. The two big ones, I think, when it comes to them, would be medicine, which is really underestimated. I think that's one that's just not really talked about all that much. I think everyone knows astrology and stuff like that, but most people tend to be, but they're particularly good, like Aztec calendar and all that. One of my friends, he's an absolute schizo, kept going on to me forever and ever. It's like, no man, it's the end of the world. You don't get it. They knew it was the end of the world. You know what? Maybe he was right. Maybe the end of the world was 2012 and we're living in the aftermath. Like, that's what it feels like. It feels like that at the minute anyway. So like, I'm just gonna go on down, and if you just tell me when to stop, is there anything like you want to check out in particular? I don't like, again, it's one of those ones you don't want to like show too much, but you want to give people a good enough taste to like, well, this is what you get. Oh, by the way, guys, the physical copy is dirt cheap, and I mean dirt cheap. It's $12, which is kind of insane.
Well, yeah, that's $12. You'll still have to pay for the at cost print, so you'll probably end up paying like $15 or $16 because the at cost print isn't going to be that expensive. But I say as much in that on those tiers. I'm fulfilling the and then there's just the sweet ass version that's like a hardcover. Yeah. I'm getting that as an offset print, but so print on demand will be very affordable still.
Yeah, which is quite nice. That's one of the things I think. Again, it's one of those ones. I do love nice RPG books, but it's getting to the point where some of them are just getting wild expensive. You know what I mean? Like, see if a book's like over. See if it's over 50, I have to like seriously think about it whether or not I'm going to actually play it or not. You know what I mean? Like,
and I feel like I could charge more for my stuff probably, and maybe to a degree I should, but I don't feel right doing that. And I just really want my stuff to get in people's hands and for them to have like cost effective gaming fun, where they're not breaking the bank to have fun with their friends. That's kind of part of my goal.
Oh, here you go. You've made a part specifically for me. That's nice. I'll give you that. That's I'm not. You know what? I love you. I loved you thought of me in this bit, but like I'm just gonna put it out here. It's probably not gonna work. I can hardly speak English. So, it was nice. Like, oh, here, can we also point that out? So the reason why I put that in the title, yes, I am Mexican enough to like this, was, do you want to tell the story? You were like showing it on Facebook or whatever.
Yeah, so I ran a Facebook ad. This is the one I shared, and someone had asked if I was of Aztec descent, and I was like, well, I did a DNA test, and I'm like a third. I'm 33% indigenous people of Mexico, and they pinpointed my DNA to be just to the west of Tenochtitlan, where a lot of my ancestors came from, and in some parts of northern northern Mexico as well, where some of the Otomi and other sort of native tribes were. So if my people were not Aztecs, my ancestors were not Aztecs, they were probably conquered and enslaved by Aztecs. So at some point,
So that gives you like double like victim points then. That's like a
yeah.
double whammy. That's got to count for something. Did it work for him? Was he happy with that answer?
Yeah. Well, the thing is, I said is that much, and then I was like, but at the same time, I don't think that's what gives me the right to make this book. What gives me the ability to make this book is I've done two years of research. I've really tried to be honest about this culture and who they were, and I just so happened to be, through quite a number of generations related to them, but that doesn't give me the right to do it. And he didn't listen to that last part. He was just like, "Oh, okay, good. I'm just glad that you're not profiting off of someone else's."
I mean, like, I think you should have just said, it's like, no, I'm like, I just watched Apocalypto like about 30 times. You should have just done that. It's like, yeah, man, no, I'm, what's like the opposite of like Mesoamerica? It's like, no, man, I'm like Mongolian or something. I don't know, maybe you should have had him without. Like, I don't know. Maybe there's always that option. But, the thing is, you're always going to get that. You're always going to get that with people, It's, you know what? I'm not going to make that next joke. Let's just keep going, all right?
Well, I will say, like, that those questions were coming in a lot. I was getting a lot of private messages on Kickstarter itself from people. And that's why I posted the tweet, because that one was the most egregious, and I was just getting tired of answering the question. And now it's like a frequently asked question thing on the Kickstarter itself, because I was just tired of answering that question over and over again.
Well, I mean, like, if it's a selling point, it's a selling point. You know what I mean? Like, some people are into that type of thing, so...
Yeah.
I mean...
Well,
like,
for Vibe Checker, he says, "Nah, mate, I'm Spanish." And it's like, well, yeah, actually, yeah, that's the other 33%.
Yeah.
Is Spanish, and then I'm at 33% like random crap like Portuguese and Basque and North African and all kinds of weird stuff from that Mediterranean area.
Well, all I got was 99.999% British Isles, and that's it. So there you go. North FC. All right, let's just keep going. Let's just keep. You know what? No, I'm not going to talk about that. That'll get me into issue. See, this is the problem that I've got with doing like live streams and stuff. I get ideas for jokes, and I'm like, you know what, James, you can't edit this out after. What you say is going to stay there. And it's like, that's what people ask me. Like, Victor keeps saying to me, it's like, no, James, we should do a podcast together. Like, we'll do a live stream, and then think of it, they're not going to be able to understand the thing that I say. It's like, yeah, but what am I going to say though? Like, I can't call him a swamp German or something. That's going to get me into issue. Like, that's going to really get me in fucking bother here, guys. So anyway, look, attributes. Here, this is another thing. Do you think, could you? Let's say you were playing historically. Well, let's just say like you're playing a generic fantasy setting. Could you use this book to then create like a not Mesoamerica island or continent or whatever? Like, could you drag and drop this in?
Like inspire it, like use it as inspiration for something that's sort of aping it, I guess.
Yeah. Well, like, let's say someone's playing Warhammer Fantasy Roleplay, and they're like, right, I want to play a Lizardman campaign. Would this be a good book to pick up for Lizardman?
You could probably get a lot of interesting ideas for this from that. For like Warhammer Fantasy, obviously the system's a little different than White Box D&D, so there'll probably be some conversion issues that you'll run into. If you're running like a BX game, or I don't know, let's say Lamentations of the Flame Princess, or OSC, or just original Dungeons and Dragons, Advanced Dungeons and Dragons, and you want to drop this in somewhere, it would work a lot better without too much conversion. Someone had asked if this was could it convert to 3.5 easily. Probably not. I would consider anything after TSR. This would be hard to convert to, just because it's a different game after TSR lost it.
Well, for me, I don't know. I think as long as it's like D20 based, I think it's not too bad to convert for me. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
But
you're just not gonna have like feats and things like that that
yeah,
you would kind of need in a more modern game, or people kind of want and expect in a more modern game. It's not going to be in this, so
yeah. Well, that again, that's another one of my. Well, I would say it's a feature, not a bug. Is for me, like I barely play Goals as Written, my own system. So like yeah, I'm gonna say if it's D20 based, yeah, it's compatible, man. I can roll with this. I can make it work. You know what I mean? For me anyway. So let's go down for it. So we got our attribute scores, hit
yeah, you got your
points,
typical 6.
alignment. Oh, how would alignment work? Is this different?
It's the typical just law, chaos, and neutral. So law would be like a character who's like 100% behind the Aztec Empire and the status quo. Neutral would be obviously like you don't care all that much about it one way or another, and then chaos would be you're in opposition to the status quo of the Aztec Empire.
Yeah.
You're actively trying to take it down and destroy it. So
See, I think that's one of the ones. I think I would have bother just because, for me personally, I don't understand the culture of the people. Like again, you're getting a lot of people being like, "Well, these human sacrifices aren't very progressive." You know what I mean? It's like, well, they were perfectly fine with it at the time. So is it evil? I don't think so. Like did the culture consider it evil? I don't know. I don't think they did. So therefore, I'm not going to call it evil. Does that make sense? I think that'll be a hard one, like because culture clash and all that type of stuff.
Yeah, and I try to explain. I don't try and justify what the Aztecs did, but I try and explain the reasons for it. It's because it's just part of the setting, dressing. It's who they were and the reasons why they did it. So I try and give players and referees enough information so that they could. There's a whole chapter 7 that's devoted to the setting itself and explain everything about it. So you should be able to run it fairly competently, even if you don't. If you go into this book not knowing anything about Aztecs, you'll learn about them.
All right, well, let's keep going then. We got alignment, we got zodiac signs. So these are kind of like, is this like backgrounds? Would you say like a bonus to your background almost?
Sort of, yeah. They kind of function like you could get a boost to an ability score. Let's say like maybe your strength will get bumped up, or dexterity, or maybe your intelligence gets bumped down, strength gets bumped down, your constitution gets bumped down. Maybe you get some other like bonus with a specific weapon or something like that based on the zodiac sign. So there's pluses and minuses that could happen, and obviously you roll a d20 for the vertical column, and you roll a d20 for the horizontal, and where they intersect, that's the day you were born.
Oh, right, okay. Is this just is it straight up goals, or do people get to pick this sort of stuff, or
they got to roll it for it randomly? You do, because the Aztecs didn't get to pick the zodiac sign, so you're not going to be able to get to pick it either.
Yeah, I've had a few people complain to me actually as well about now Death March. I do 3d6 drop the lowest. And I got like, you boys guard at me, be like, no, that's too easy. It needs to just be 3d6. And then I get like 5e normies be like, no, you can't go. Give me point by. You know what I mean? It's like, does no one like it? You know what I mean? I'm never. No one's fucking happy. It's like, I've got a good middle ground, guys. Okay, leave me be. Okay, so let's keep going. Oh, what are these here? These are explaining these.
So whatever zodiac sign you roll. This is for the Tresenia, it's called, is what that's what the phase was called. These are the effects that you'd get. So, you got like a Macuahuitl, which is death, and as you can see, that one says like it's neither lucky nor unlucky. So you get nothing, pretty much, nothing bad, nothing good. But some of them are very unlucky, like Malinali, grass, is an unlucky sign. Those born under the sign must roll 1d6. The number corresponds to an attribute score in order on the character sheet from top to bottom. The score that is rolled is reduced by 2 points to a minimum of 3. So again, like your ability scores, your ability scores are getting further modified by these sorts of things. But then some of them are good, like Macuahuitl the deer. You get a +1 to your hit points, and you get a +1 to an ability score. Yeah. So some of them are better than others. So it's just luck. Yeah. It's just pure luck.
I must ask, is this how we get the word ocelot?
Yes.
Oh, right, okay, that's pretty cool. Big Metal Gear Solid fan, by the way. I just gotta ask. Just because I saw it, I was like, also Jaguar. Oh, right, okay, that makes a lot of sense. Anyway, like, let's keep going. So these are all these different signs.
So you have
Lucky and
20
unlucky
signs that you can
days.
get.
Oh yeah, no, you go for it.
So like on so the days they intersect, you're within a phase, and whatever number within the phase, 1 through 13, one of those days might be lucky or unlucky. And if you have a lucky day, you roll on the lucky day boon table, 2d6. Obviously, it peaks around 7. So you're probably going to get like a 5 to 6, 7 to 8, more than likely, on either of these tables. But if you have an unlucky day, so if you're born on days number 4, 5, 6, 8, and 9, you roll on the unlucky day bane. And I try to make them at least interesting, so that like if you do land on one, like doomed, your family has been marked for death by a powerful entity or god, and you must undertake a perilous quest to remove the curse. There's some penalties to that. You have a penalty to your saving throws there. But this is a gameable. I wanted to still make it gameable.
Yeah. What I was going to make a joke about bell curves there for a second, but you know what? Not worth it. Not worth it. Let's just keep going, guys. No, let's just keep going. So here we go. There's your card. Here, no, you got a different. Here, I'll get up the one you sent me. That's quite nice. I really like the character sheet. So I do. Is this just like a condensed one? Is it, or?
Yeah, it's just a simpler condensed one. So on the larger one, you have more stuff, and then you have room for weapon versus AC type. I just kind of draw that from supplement 1, Greyhawk, because I thought that was something cool that is in Chainmail and in Greyhawk, where the weapon you wield has different effects on different armor types. And so I like to add that sort of tactical choice with players and their equipment.
Yeah, I've done something similar with Dice and Demons. So like, for instance, like mace style weapons generally like ignore armor, or like edged like swords and stuff have like a bleed effect. I just think it gives marshals so much more like stuff to work with. You know what I mean? Pick the right tool for the jobs type of mentality. You know what I mean?
Yeah, and it gives a little more because this is white box, so the best modifier you're going to get, and this is a +1, and the worst you're going to get is a -1. So you get further modifiers from the weapon versus AC table, in my opinion. That adds further complexity. So that's partly why I went that route.
All right. So let's keep going then. What's this? Chapter 2, character classes. Okay, so let's go on and check out the classes. So what do we have? We got Eagle Warrior. So these are all. Let me just check. Okay, so you got it as a spread for each page then, is it, or each
pretty much
class? Okay, so run through them just real quick, because you know what, we're going to get bogged down if we go through each and every class. What is an Eagle Warrior? Is it a fighter, or is it something else? Is it like a heavy
he's
one?
Kind of like he's more like a scout or like a ranger. So he has a d6 skill mechanic, because I didn't want to do the percentile skills from the thief. And I have Matt Finch's White Box Fantastic Medieval Adventure game, and I really liked how he did thief skills on that. They're on the d6. So the Eagle Warrior skills, you can see the table there. At level 1, you're going to be successful on a d6 roll and a roll of 1 to 2. And then as you level up, you can see the range increases all the way up to 1 to 5, where it's going to be hard for you to fail at stuff at level 10.
All right. A note about
so
female characters. Wait, what's this? A note about female characters here. I just saw that. Explain yourself. What is this?
So I'm trying to be historically accurate here.
Yeah.
And so there's going to be people that want to be like, I want to be a female Eagle Warrior. And to me, like, okay, sure, you can do that. But my note here is about that's not historically accurate, and don't pretend that it's historically accurate.
Yeah.
You can do it. I can't tell you once the book is in your hands what you can and can't do. But the goal of this book is for something definitely honest about the Aztec people and who they were. And females could only be, in this game, Pochteca, which are like merchants. There's a merchant class. And Nwahali, which are like shamanistic priests. And that's the only 2 classes that are open to females. Everyone else must be, at least when I run it at my table, everyone else must be a male.
So,
because it's just, to me, it just seems silly to have inaccurate and disrespectful to the culture to pretend like
Well, John,
overlaying our
see, the problem
our
is
modern.
you're lucky you're a minority. Otherwise, this would be problematic. That's all I gotta say. All right, you should be
Huh?
happy with your privilege, but it's nice to see that. Like, let's not try and get ourselves. It is
Well,
it be what it is. You know what I mean?
well, and I don't want people to think this comes from like a misogynistic perspective or something like that. Like it's purely from. I don't think it's fair to overlay our modern sensibilities over people that have been dead for like, 1,000 years or
Yeah.
something. That's not fair.
Wait, but
That's
that's
not right.
easy though. What are
That's
you
not.
talking about? It means I don't have to understand other histories or cultures to understand them at all. I can just put my 21st century worldview on top and call it a day. What are you talking about? You know what I
But see,
mean?
to me, that is actually in my mind problematic.
Yeah, I would
and
say it is. I
disrespectful.
would agree with that. I would agree with that. But like,
And it would just make me feel gross if I had leaned into gross and dishonest if I had not been the best into my ability historically accurate with these cultures.
right. So Eagle Warrior, not quite a lug, not well, more of a scout, as you say. So let's keep going then, will
Yeah.
we? Up next we got the Jaguar, and who is he then?
He's like more typical fighter class, so he's just more like the typical warrior. He gets a bonus against, as he levels up, he gets a bonus attack against one hit die creatures, very typical of like OD&D 0E rules. So he can kind of go in and mow down a lot of weaker creatures, and then he also gets extra bonus attacks against higher hit die creatures at levels 4 and 7. He gets bonus attacks. So yeah, I just tried to make him like and also his hit points. If he gets down to half hit points, he gets a +1 to his attack. He gets a +1 attack bonus. He kind of goes berserk mode.
Yeah.
He's near death. He's near death. He's going to go to the retinue of Tanatua, the sun god, and he's ready for it. So he's going to go out swinging.
All right.
And that was the mentality behind that.
All right, okay. I was going to make an anime joke there, but never mind. Let's just keep going. Oh, here, the Femoid class. Here we go. We found it.
The Pochteca, the merchant, they're sort of like a face class. They get kind of a bonus die to reaction rolls within old school D&D. Reaction rolls are on 2d6. He gets to roll 3d6, take the 2 dice that make for the best reaction roll. So he or she is a smooth talker. They're good at getting deals. They're good at diplomacy.
I mean, I'd be a
that
sweet
kind of
talker
stuff.
with that sweet ass glowing cloth right there.
And people like his backpack too.
Yeah, his backpack is actually pretty cool. I'll give him that. I'll give him
It goes around his head.
Yeah. Oh, actually, no, actually, I didn't notice that, does it? Yeah. Okay, look, let's keep going. So at the minute, we got a scout, a warrior, and a merchant face class. And up next, we have the. Now, can I try and say what's this one? Nah. Oh, fuck it. No, you know what? I'm not in the mood to bitch for it. You just go for it. You tell me what. You know what? I was like, oh, you know what? I'll try and say it this time. No, just that's fucking not. You go for it. You tell me who this guy is.
This is on Nwahali. They're like a shape-shifting spiritual leader. They can shapeshift into
Oh, the actual
Jaguar
furry
dog.
then.
Yeah,
The actual furry class.
well, that's not like a humanoid thing, like a furry. Like they just legit turn into jaguars,
Yeah.
dogs, turkeys, an owl, or they can take the form of a ghost woman.
Oh, right.
And they were said to be able to do
woman?
these things for.
No, you know
Yeah,
what? I
yeah.
need to stop. You know what? I need to stop because someone's going to actually get really upset with me if I keep making jokes. I'm sorry. Say, furry, cross-dressing, ghost,
I thought people would find a turkey to be the funniest thing.
Yeah.
But that's legit what they believed that
Yeah.
these shamans were able to do. They're also were called Nogwals because they were like the Nogwal spirits they were able to channel in order to transform. But these guys are spellcasters, but they also get slightly more equipment than like a regular magic user in old school D&D, where like in old school D&D, in AD&D and OD&D, you're kind of restricted to just a dagger and darts, which kind of suck for a lot of people. I get that. This guy can actually wear semi-light armor, and he can wield a dagger and clubs and things like that. And he gets spells as well. And So he could be a quite powerful class. I'm still kind of working on the shapeshifter ability. I'm going to probably tweak it a bit more just to kind of make it not as overpowerful.
Yeah.
But so far it hasn't been too game breaking in playtesting all summer.
Yeah, well, that's good.
Yeah, he's like a mix between a cleric, a magic user, and kind of a druid, I guess, if you need Western
Influences.
analogs for
Although I do think this word right here is a slur word in Morrowind, if I remember. But
well, they got it from Aztecs first. That's funny.
Yeah. If I remember. Anyway, no, I can't remember. Anyway, let's keep going. I actually quite like this one. This one's pretty cool. So it is. And then we got the mercenary.
So the Atomi were a class of warriors that were like indigenous people to the north, and they were really renowned warriors. So they were like some of the best of the best. They were often put like on ranges, and the drama goblins is Nahua. That's another way of pronouncing, just from my understanding and my research, just the general people. The Nwahali or Nagual was a specific like priestly class. He's saying Nawa in Morrowind.
The Morrowind one. Okay. Yeah, sorry. I'm sorry. When you say north,
anyway,
what do you mean by north? Is like, so are we talking like Mexico type north, or are we talking like Plains Indians?
Still north. No, like northern Mexico, still within Mexico, but more to the north. Because Tenochtitlan, the capital city of the Aztec Empire, is where modern day Mexico City is. So to the north of that is where a lot of these guys are from. And this class is like really special. They get a lot of extra stuff. They're better than just a regular fighter, but it's also gatekept by having to be able to roll higher ability scores than you normally have to get. So.
All right. Okay. Sorry. All right. Let's keep going then. And Shorn one. I can say that word. Did I say it right? Shorn.
Yeah.
That. Yo. I can say something.
That's the English translation of it. That's what they're most known for. So that's what I went with these. These guys are known for their typical like shorn hairstyle, and these guys were like the best of the best. They were an elite fraternity and cult of warriors. And so again, this guy's almost like the paladin in Greyhawk or in AD&D, where eventually at level 7 he gets the ability like a level 1 spellcaster, pretty much. So they can become quite powerful.
I like this guy's in like the meatlicks over here, so he is, or like the Mesoamerican meatlicks. I suppose it would need more swirls, wouldn't it? Come to think of it, it wouldn't be more. Yeah, never mind. Well, you know what? The brickwork's very straight though, isn't it? Like with Mesoamerican sort of buildings. Like they're very
they're pretty square.
Yeah,
square like.
Yeah. So. All right. Okay. Let's keep going. So we've got equipment, money, status points. What about armor? Because this is not something that I know. Because I know the only thing I know is Jaguar warriors, and of course because they wear skins. But bar that, I know nothing about bar some of the weapons, but I don't know anything about their actual armor.
So armor they wore. Well, basic commoner warriors were like this, what was called like a cloth laminate armor. It was made from like the fibers of the Maguahuitl plant and lots of other plant fibers. It kind of woven together into it almost looks like a gambeson.
Yeah, that's what it sounds like.
Yeah, and so a lot of warriors would wear that. And then over that, Eagle warriors and Jaguar warriors would wear their like Eagle warrior or Jaguar warrior war suits or just other types of war suits over that for like extra layer protection and as a symbol of status. So I just sort of like ported that over into various AC values, typical of what's in D&D. You do get to be able to like stack armors. So the Jaguar warrior, for instance, he would be able to wear the cloth laminate armor and then he'd wear his war suit over that. And he could have a shield. So if you do that, you get to about this uses descending and ascending, but I like descending, so I'll say 2 AC, which is like within OD&D is like as a player pretty much the best AC you could get starting out. And so it ends up being very similar to if you're familiar with old school white box D&D, it'll feel very familiar to you as far as like the armor and everything.
Yeah, easy enough to work with anyway.
Yeah.
So let's keep going then. Oh wait, what's this? I knew about
Weapons
weapons. What's this about?
weapons weapons will break. So if you miss, the GM will roll a d6, and on a roll of 1, your weapon is damaged. An obsidian edge broke out.
Yeah, well,
'Cause players can carry players can carry like obsidian cores and flake off their own prismatic blades, or they could just carry the blades themselves, because this was something that was common with Aztec warriors, is their obsidian edged weapons would break, and they just use more pine resin and affix a new blade into it, and they'd be good to go. But yeah, your weapon can break in this on a missed hit. So
yeah, well, it makes sense. Like, everyone, like, essentially it's glass. You know what I mean? It's nautical glass. You know what I mean? So it is gonna shatter obsidian, even if it is very. You know what I mean? It's
sharp.
Yeah, it's very sharp, but it does break. You know. So let's keep going then. So we got some different clubs here. Do you want to talk? Well, I suppose like you know what I mean, blue darts, javelins, bows. You know what I mean? Like, is there anything you want to talk about here, or do you want to keep going? It's up to you.
There's as you can see, everything's based around a d6, because I don't know how much maybe your audience knows about a lot of old school games, especially like the 3 little 10 books, but there were no d8s. There were no d8s. There were no d10s that they were using back then. It was your d20 and d6s was pretty much the entirety of the game. And so to give weapons a little bit of variety, I sort of added, the -1s, +1s to them, and then this coupled with weapon versus AC will really add some difference to weapons as well, as far as like choice selection. But that was probably the most unique thing that people might be taken aback at, is that everything's based around the d20 and the d6 as far as weapon damage is concerned. Other than that, like they had very comparable weapons to what you'd want in a what you'd have in a Western European setting. Tech paddle is like an obsidian dagger. They had halberds that had like obsidian edges. They had spears. They had one-handed and two-handed Macuahuitls, which are essentially swords.
Yeah.
They had axes, clubs, all that kind of stuff. So
Vibe Checker, he does have an adult javelin chucker at the top of thingy, because he was just asking about an adult. So there you go. Anyway, let's keep going then. Oh, here, blue gun, come to think of it. So, like, do you have any, like, poisons, anything like that? Because, again, I did mention about Aztec, well, not just Aztecs, but Mesoamerica in general. Like, where do we get all of our modern medicine from? The Amazon. Who lives on the Amazon? You know what I mean? These people were very proficient, and, like, again, like, a lot of poisonous animals. Have you added any of that sort of stuff in, or is that something you've went a bit?
There's a section there's a section on various plants and herbs and things that they had used as far as like medicine and poison. I don't list animals like frogs, but there's things like rattlesnakes. You could use frogs if you wanted to. You could say the players come across frogs and put a blowgun dart on it. The blowgun was more used for like hunting and stuff like that, but you could obviously use it for stealthily taking out people you don't like as well. But yeah. All right, I do have a section on herbs and good and bad herbs that can be used for poison or healing.
All right, well, let's keep going then. Well, so we got the armors. You've already spoken about that to a certain extent. What's the different wooden shields? What are light shields? Or would they make that like hide or what? Or
they were just smaller, lighter wooden shields. They had larger wooden shields that obviously provided more protection. But yeah, the smaller ones were like lighter, almost like dried, stretched animal hide over like a wooden frame, pretty much. So they don't provide as much protection as like a larger wooden shield. Is pretty much what I went with.
As I mentioned earlier, I have watched. One show that I do miss is Deadliest Warrior, and that's where I know that's where I got half the shit from. And there was always like the odd culture that had like the leather shields, and they were always dog shit. People would always be like, no, like, they could stop like musket bullets and stuff, like, and then they put them to the test. It's like, no, they couldn't. Don't be ridiculous.
They worked. I mean,
sometimes, not very often though. From the test,
those armors were good at protecting against the weapons that they.
The weapons. Yeah, it was good against what they were up against. That's one of the ones that I always like to think about. Imagine like the aliens come down today. You know what I mean? And that's kind of what they had with like with the Spanish showing up. Like, it may as well been like an alien showing up. You know what I mean? Off the shore coast, because it's such a weird one to work with. You know what I mean? That's the way I imagine it in my head anyway. I always think of it as like the aliens showing up.
Pretty much like The way you could liken the Spanish arriving would be like the aliens arriving and trying to conquer the Romans. It
Yeah.
was like it'd be like that if you need like a another analog or something.
Yeah,
It
that actually,
was
yeah, that would be a good one. I like that idea. Yeah, that's a good way of putting it. So like, let's just keep going then. Well, wait. So we got armors, basic equipment, followers. Forward. They are. Oh, this is problematic. What's this? Chapter 4 spells. Let's go into the sorcery, will we? And that's something that I know absolutely nothing about is magic, or not
well,
magic per se.
I I sort of just went and got creative in this section, and just because based on my research, I was sort of like, well, I can just probably write some spells that are very much in an Aztec flavor. And so that's what I tried to do. It still uses a Vancian spell slot system, but it does it in the acquisition of spells in a slightly different way. So there's a 2d6. You have to petition the gods pretty much. So as a Nohali character, you have access to pretty much all. If you have access to level 1 spells, you technically, in theory, have access to all level 1 spells or all level 2 spells. But it's a matter of whether or not you want the gods to if the gods will give you those spells, and you have to petition the gods for spells that you want, which will take time. And there's a chance that you might not be able to get those spells for 1d6 days if the reaction roll goes very very poorly. And you can modify the action roll through what the current zodiac sign is, because timekeeping will be important in this game. The calendar was important to the Aztecs, so it should be important to you in your game as well. And also, you can present sacrifices to the gods, human sacrifices if you want.
Oh my god! Oh no! No, that's very problematic. Stop! You're going to get us cancelled, man. Don't speak about such things. Oh my god! What is wrong with you? Slavery? What? Jesus Christ, man! Do you have no? Oh my god! What is wrong? Oh. Right. Anyway, no. This is kind of sounds not far off what I'm doing with Dice and Demons. Most of the magic is like ritual based, and it requires like components and like setup and that sort of stuff. There's very little like actual like fireball and stuff like that, but the magic I think is very powerful. But it's the way I'm working it, it's kind of like, think of it like, like Lord of the Rings, where it's like, yeah, okay, Gandalf has magic, but he's not really like what you know what I mean. It's more like his magic works in the form of like gay shit, like hope. Do you know what I mean? Do you get what I'm trying to say, though?
Yeah. These spells could be quite powerful. There are some analogs to like classic spells that I've reskinned to be in an Aztec flavor, but most of these, there's 37 spells in this book.
All right, I'll skip down. I'm through them up on screen. Well, there we go.
Yeah, so you got five levels of spells, and most of these are of like Call of the Jungle Birds or Bloodletting or Curse of Tlaloc. These are all original spells that are within that Vancian style. So if you play other OSR games and you want like an expanded spell system or an expanded spell list that will just easily slot into almost any edition of D&D you're playing, this will probably work for you.
Okay. That's pretty good. That's always nice to see. I think that's one thing I think a lot of people get kind of lazy with a lot of the time. Like actually like adding more magic in. Whenever they do that, they just kind of rely on like the basic like D&D spells and call it a day. Like one thing actually like I was kind of annoyed with was one book that I love, like it's probably one of my favorite RPG books, is the Book of Antithesis from Lamentations of Flame Princess. If you haven't checked it out, I would really recommend it. I think it's a really cool book. I'd say it's probably one of my favorites. However, there's no new spells in it, you know what I mean? And it's one of those ones where it talks all about like occult magic and how like installation and all that type of stuff, and then it doesn't actually put in any new spells, you know what I mean? It was one of those ones that whenever I actually thought about it, it's like, wait, you tricked me, you know what I mean? It's like, I love this book, but like I just wish that had it, you know what I mean? And it's nice to see this sort of stuff. So anyway,
well, I mean, like some of these are like Floral Charm of Xochiquetzal is pretty much like the charm spell, so because I feel like some of those spells, like when you're playing, it doesn't matter if it's a Mesoamerican setting, it will still work within the Aztec setting, because the Aztecs did believe that you could charm someone with magic. So some of those old spells I still left in and reskinned, but most of these are I would say like 90% of these spells of the 37, maybe even more than that, are wholly new, unique spells. So
Okay, so let's keep going then. Let's get past the spells then, will we? Let's just keep going. It's got some artwork. Oh, by the way, as well, I suppose we never actually said that. Yeah, you did all the artwork, all the formatting, all the lighting. This is all one man show.
yeah, except for the one image here, I do some public domain images. So the image on the
Oh.
right here is a public domain image, but it's only because I thought it looked really cool.
It
Like
looks
I could have drawn something there,
Yeah.
but I'm like, that looks so good, and it's already been done, so I'm going to use it.
Yeah.
So
I mean, it looks exactly like your art style that you were going with. Like, I couldn't tell you the difference. I thought that was your one. Like, you could have just lied about that and be like, yeah, no, I totally did that, guys. I totally did that myself. Like, you could have got away with that, but like, okay, if you insist. All right, so chapter 5, adventuring. So, will I go down to the hex map, or is there anything here that you want to go over?
I mean, we could talk about. I should talk about the advancement system. The advancement system is a little different. So there's no XP. It's the term is replaced with status points, SP, and status points because the Mesoamericans. SP, not
Sorry.
not ASPI.
I'm sorry, I couldn't help myself.
Although those people can play the game. I'll say no.
I thought only wizards were allowed to do that these days. Was that not a thing the other day? I saw that. It was like the other day. It's like the first ever autistic paladin. It's like, I don't know, man. I know a few of them. Like I'm straight up. I thought I was an autistic paladin. Just put that out there, but like, SB card.
But
yeah.
Typical gold for XP wasn't going to work for this because the Aztecs were a barter society. They traded cocoa beans, maize, quetzalli, which was like standard measurements of cloth. They did have like gold and other precious metals, but that was more reserved for like higher nobility.
Yeah.
And it wasn't as necessarily part of it wasn't a medium of exchange for them.
You don't get it. The native, like, the Europeans just like bought Manhattan because, like, they didn't understand land rights. What are you talking about? These people like lived in like a communist fairy utopia, man. What are you talking about? I don't think you understand history very well, man. Just putting that out there.
Yeah, maybe.
Yeah, there's gonna be one or two of them. There's gonna be a few of them.
What they did care about, though, was status. And so, you get status points for killing monsters. You get status points, 5 times status points for bringing human enemies back as prisoners for sacrifice or slavery. So the advancement system is a bit different.
And slavery? What? I'm sorry. Okay, I'm going to stop.
The Aztec society, they're not going to like this, but Aztec society was built on slavery.
Yeah, well, pretty much every society was. Let's not rank it ourselves. It was very few places in the world that didn't. You know what I mean? So, yes, slavery. Am I right? Yeah, just fucking sneaked it in the comments. No, well, for me, like, all I'm going to say is, like, for me, I normally just go for milestone XP. I know a lot of people are kind of like, oh, but James, like, like, I'm one of those guys. I used to like get worked up a lot of the time when it came to like balance and shit like that, and then I got to the point where it's like, you know what, I just don't care about balance. I just throw shit at my players and call it a day, and if they win, they win. But like, I'll try and be fair with them. Within like, if I think they can kill them, yeah, go for it. You guys got a good chance. Let's just go for it. So for me, I just go for like milestone. That's me personally, just because I think it's the easiest to control. You know what I mean?
I like putting it in the hands of the. Yeah, but for me personally, I think I like putting it in the hands of the players. Because, for instance, gold for XP in old school D&D is a good motivator for getting players to going back into the dungeon, going deeper into deeper levels. And it wasn't going to work in this game, so I needed to find a different way. Because XP is that like sort of meta reward for players that makes them want to sit back down and play and to advance the game and the adventure and the story. And so you need to find, in my opinion, or at least for my games, I want to find a way of emulating that so that you're motivating them to engage with the setting and to take actions and to move things forward. And so, rewarding things like capturing slaves or sacrifice victims or for defending your city state or raiding a village or finding an artifact or something like that, like I needed to do that. So I do provide a table, I think it's later in the section, that shows you, like, as a referee, you could give this amount of status points as a reward for doing this. And obviously you can extrapolate that table to other comparable actions that the players can do, and then giving them a reward for that. Because I think having a set reward for set actions, set things that have a reward, which is inbuilt in old school D again with gold for XP, is just the easiest for me and best way of motivating players to wanting to get back out there and nearly dying, having their characters nearly die every time. So.
Yeah. Right. Okay. Let's keep going then. So actions or feats, time, movement. Let's just keep going. Or is there anything like you want to talk about here, or
all this is pretty standard. Well, here you have the status point rewards table I was talking about. So you can rescuing captives from an enemy, give them 250 per captive that they rescue. Capturing human enemies alive, the base SP times 5. Killing or defeating enemies, base SP. Successfully raiding a large settlement or city, 1,750. So
that's something. And this Garb always gives me grief over, because I think it was like a game we like. It was from his set, and it was from the Veil Riders, his game. And I asked him, I was like, so what type of companies are in this town? And he's like, well, we got some like traffickers, and we got this and we got that. And then he got upset with me because I got back some slaves. He's like, James, you shouldn't be bringing back slaves. Like, look, you told me there was human traffickers. They worth money. You know what I mean? Don't get upset with me, because it's you that put them in. All right, I didn't put them in the game. If you didn't put human traffickers in the game, I wouldn't have went and got slaves. Heh, you know what I mean? So
yeah. To answer why not the malls question, can you lose SP? So the thing with SP is that it's also the currency you use if you want to build a temple, if you want to build a stronghold, if you want to have a hire hirelings, you want to purchase equipment. It's essentially like the monetary currency as well as the leveling currency. So players have to make a choice. And the example I give is my players were attempting to raid the city-state of Texcoco, which is across Lake Texcoco from Tenochtitlan. I was running the game before the Triple City Alliance was a thing, so Texcoco was not an ally yet. They were enemies, and they had not been conquered yet. And my players had to make a choice. They're like, we have a bunch of SP from previous sessions, but do we want to use it to get a canoe, or do we want to use it to level our characters? And so to me, old school D&D is about resource management, and I was trying to emulate some form of resource management into this, of making hard choices that players have to do. My players ended up going for a canoe because they felt like they could carry more sacrifice victims back on a couple of those. Then
I can put them on a barge. Yes, I can get more slaves. Fuck yeah.
Pretty much.
Yeah. So. All right. Well, let's keep going then. You were talking about the repairing items. You've already spoken about that. You talking about temples and whatnot. Feats and healing. Is there anything like in particular you want to point out here, or is it all standard enough?
Hardcore old school healing, 1 hit point a day. Pretty much. I know some people don't like that, but I like that. It forces downtime and makes players slow down and do downtime activities, which I think is important.
What I do is sort of like Death March. I pretty much throw health at players, but pretty much all the encounters are very deadly. You know what I mean? Like because humans are capped at like 40 hit points, and even getting like pretty much any weapon, if it's a critical, has got a very high chance of just killing you outright. You know what I mean? No matter what. So I'm happy enough with just like, yeah, you can have whatever health. You know what I mean? I think downtime
doesn't matter.
I throw health at you just because, like, like if I'm going to be brutal in the combat, I'll let you have an easier time on the healing. How does that sound? Does that sound fair enough, guys? So that's the way I go for it anyway. So exploration, random encounters. Let's keep going. Discoveries. So let's go down. Do you want to look at your hex map that you have? Because you've got a couple in here, so you do. Or
we got more than a couple. There's a lot of maps.
Yeah.
Here.
Well, I just go down.
We got combat rules.
Do you want me to go back up here? Where do you want me to stop?
This chapter's.
Here we go.
Chapter 7. Chapter 7, combat encounter, typical old school D&D rules, reaction roll, surprise. I need to fix that text got...
Which one?
I just did some edits, so I got to move it, how initiative works to the next page, or shrink things here. Let me make a note of that real quick before I forget.
All right, page 72.
All right. anyways, yeah, you can kind of skip through this. I do offer ascending and descending AC. So if you're using descending AC, you use these attack matrices. So if you're, for instance, a level 1 Jaguar warrior, to hit AC 16, or sorry, to hit AC 3, if you're using descending AC, you have to roll 16 or better.
Yeah.
So you'd write this on your character sheet if you're using descending AC. I'm a descending AC enjoyer. It's what I use at my table. But I know some people can't do math. So,
yeah, I'll tell you a funny one actually. So I put an attack matrix into, I think it was Class War, and there was people saying to me, it's like, "Yo, James, this is like you mixed like Warhammer 40k, like a war game with it." It's like, no, I didn't come up with this, guys. I really didn't. Attack matrices are far older. They're far older. I thought it was kind of funny, but it's you know what I mean. Again, that's the thing with old school play. Much more like war games than they are modern role playing games, or at least like what 5e is at this point.
But I like that aesthetic personally, so that's why I've kind of went with it. But again, I offer ascending AC in this book, so if you don't,
I gotta say, Atomic Shaman asks, do the merchants attack your credit score? All right, okay. I don't know if I want to say. Oh, right, okay. Let's keep going before we get into issues. All right. Fuck. What happens on the side combat? Attack rolls. So yeah, you went for the Thaco and all that jazz. Invisible enemies. What's this?
There could be invisible enemies. It's just a little note on like attacking them, how hard it is to hit them, and then creatures, how detectable they are too.
Right, okay. Alright, okay, so blind wounds, hear no faints, okay. Chapter 7, the setting and running the game, okay.
So this,
is there any, where would you start? So you say you've been learning a lot about Mesoamerica. Is there any books in particular? Is there any documentaries? Like, what would you say would be something? I'm going to assume not apocalypto. I'm just going to put that out there right now.
I have an appendix B that lists all my resources that I used for research,
right.
At least the major ones, so people can reference that and know Apocalypto. It's not in that list. So.
There was you know what? I'm not going to say who he is, but I bought this book. This was about a year ago, and it was a caveman book, and I was working on Unga Bunga at the time, and Unga Bunga's kind of been like shelved at the minute just because I can't work out how to do crafting at all, because how do you do cavemen and not do crafting? But crafting is just not something that's particularly, I don't think it's ever been done well in a tabletop RPG, and it's very I'm trying to work something out, but I don't want to make it like super crunchy at the same time. I want to make something like relatively simple, but I don't want it just to boil down to like some dog shit, you know what I mean? But anyway, so I picked it up thinking like, okay, this is interesting. I'll see how this guy did it, and I'm not even joking. See his like inspiration he had on it. He had shit like, what do you call that one? Zero Dawn. You know that the one with the dinosaurs and shit. And it was like every single thing was like even remotely related. It was like 2 pages of just like anything you could possibly think of related to cavemen. Like, it was shit that wasn't even related to cavemen. There was like 10,000 BC and shit. It's like, man, come on.
He has the Flintstones on there.
Yeah, it was. I'm not even joking. It was fucking like, it was all that type of shit. And then like what got me was, so he did this and it was for Old School Essentials, and then like there wasn't even like caveman weapons or anything, and there was no classes and stuff like that. I'm like, I don't know, it just felt shit. Like, it was just, I felt like, and it even had X cards in it. I was like, man, can I just get my money back? Like, I know it was only like 15 quid, but like after reading it, and like the thing is, I looked online and there was like a ton of reviews being like, oh yeah, this is actually pretty decent and whatnot. And I looked at it, I was like, no, please give it was the only time I've actually got an RPG book in, and I've been like, there's absolutely nothing. I just fucking hate it, man. I'm sorry, I just absolutely hate it. Like, I'm normally quite kind to most RPG books within reason. Most of the time I can be like, well, you know what, there's something that they did there. They were onto something. Maybe they didn't hit the mark, but like there was something. They were aiming for something that was just dog shit, man. I'm sorry, that was just trash. But enough attachment for me. That like I'm sorry. The thing is, I'm not even going to tell you guys the name of the book, because like I'm kind of working with a guy who's like semi-connected to him at the same time. So you know what I mean, one of those ones.
Yeah,
You know, I don't want to be like, oh, I'm not going to get into any bother this stream. Okay, I've got you on. You seem to get into enough bother, and you don't even do anything. I don't know how the fuck you get into so much fucking. It's because you're on Twitter, but like.
I guess I just exist. I don't know.
It's like, I don't know. They just seem to fucking hate you, man. I don't think you're that bad. Like, you know, with the sun, I don't know. You just seem to get yourself from what. Like, I think I'm far worse, but like, I don't know. Maybe it's because I just don't interact with a lot of people. Like, you know, I just try to avoid a lot of like. I just know myself. Like, there's people that are gonna enjoy me, and there's people that aren't gonna enjoy me. So I'm just not gonna interact with the people that aren't gonna enjoy me. You know what I mean?
I've been starting to do that. I've been behaving very well for like the past year and a half. Like, still find a reason to get me in trouble, and it's like, it's weird.
Yeah, like, let's keep going. Enough of that before you get into bother. Even just mentioning that you get into bother. Anyway, engaging with the setting. Okay, so the origin of Aztec people. There's something I know nothing about. All I know is people went across the land bridge. And that's it. That's all I know. I don't know anything. I don't know about their belief system or anything.
Yeah, this covers like their mythology, where they say they came from. So they came from a mythical land called Aztlan. They came through 7 sacred caves. Out of them, because the gods told them, "You guys got to leave." So they left, and they came out of the 7 sacred caves into the Valley of Mexico, and settled there. They immediately sort of insulated or insinuated themselves into the native population that was already there, the Chichimec and the Atomi, and a lot of these clans that were already there, and obviously came from nothing into like a whole continent, Mexico spanning empire. But yeah, I go into their mythology, the creation of the universe, their legend of the 5 suns. If you're, everything you need, because I feel like origin stories and mythology of like where people say they came from is important to understanding them as a people. So I try to give you like the Cliff Notes version in this about who they were and all that kind of stuff. So
that's pretty cool. I always like that sort of thing. You know, the problem is I see when it comes to like historically accurate stuff, I'm really interested in it, and I always say to myself, "Oh man, I'd love to do that," but I'm just I'm too much of a wacky player, let's call me, to be able to keep that. I don't know, man. My longest campaign ever has been Spelljammer, so I don't know what that says about me as a person. You know, that's all I gotta say, man. I'm a wacky guy, okay? You know, I've got issues when it comes to like James, can you be serious? It's like, you know, I struggle. I do struggle. Like, it's something that I even had bother with that with the World War One, like, you know, with playing Death March and whatnot.
Yeah.
I was really like, no, I'm gonna try and keep it straight faced, gonna try and keep going, and that's something that I've just been having difficulty with, you know, across the board. That's just, again, maybe it's just my play style, you know, maybe that's just me though. But anyway, let's keep going. So I always like this type of stuff, a wee bit of history. Okay, the
I got your mythology.
Oh, yeah. Do you want me to go back up?
No, you're good. You can kind of get an overview. There's a lot of information.
Yeah,
I give. You know, it's a history.
Gods.
This is a history section here, pretty much. So.
13 Heavens. What's this? Is this their afterlife? Is it?
Sort of. They believe that the universe, the cosmos, was divided into 13 heavens, and Earth, our material plane, was one of those as well. So, or was included in these. So they all had like specific names. Different gods resided in these ones. It's just another religious aspect.
Were these like like what we would think of like Orion and stuff? Did they do like constellations?
Yeah, so like they believed like the sun in the sky, like we could see sun, which was a god, but that was like a different plane of existence up there in the sky. So like they very much were believers that like the spiritual would bleed into the physical, and that there's some things that we couldn't see as mortals. Which makes for cool adventuring stuff.
There's so this guy that I know, I do some stuff with him, and he works for NASA, so he does, right? And I always send him flat Earth stuff all the time. And the best one that I hit him with was like, yo, mate, so you tell me there's this like giant ball in the sky and you can't look at it? what's that about, man? Like, that's, you tell me there's not like some sky god, man. What's all this about? You don't worry, you can tell me whether it was fake or not. It's like, James, I'm telling you, it actually did happen. And then see, whenever that the Indian one the other week, holy good fuck, I was saying, it's like, man, I had questions before, but this is taking the piss. Like, this is really taking the piss. And he's like, no, James, I'm being serious, they actually did land on the moon. Like, you know, I don't know, I just thought it was funny. But again, like, you know, like, that's one thing I always talk about, like, you know, like, Ireland, it's known for sun gods and all that type of stuff. Like, you know, even whenever the English were Catholic, they still didn't like us. You know what I mean? Because it's like, you're not Catholic enough, because, like, you know, you got all that pagan shit mixed in, you know. But it makes sense because, like, you know, it's overcast all the time. So, like, you know, and it's weird over here. Like, you know, you're, like, you know, whereabouts you are, quite sunny, you know what I mean? You see the sun every day. For us, it's like an event, you know what I mean? It's actually, like, meaningful. Does that make sense when you see the sun?
Sure.
So, like,
and I could...
it makes sense to worship it, you know what I mean?
Yeah. That makes sense, you know.
Where's the curve? I'm sorry. I don't know. I just, you need to see it. I just torture this guy about flat Earth stuff all the time. I'm sorry. Like, okay, look, let's keep going, because I'm going to get bogged down. I don't want to talk about your book. You know what I mean? Before we end up talking about other shit. House of the Dead. Is this their afterlife, is it?
So, yeah, these would be their different afterlives. They all were different, serve different purposes. So, you know, like the first house was... I butcher these names. Kichihau...
Hey, it's not just me. It's not just me.
Kwahoko.
Are you sure you're qualified to write this book now, man? I don't know. You need to, I think you should have about 35% at least. You know.
There's I've talked about this on other streams. Like, I've been reading this for 2 years, and it's still hard to say some of these words, because, like, our mouths are meant for English.
Yeah.
You know, at least you and me. You know, like, they're meant. Muscles and everything developed over hearing a lifetime of hearing people speak English, and all of a sudden you hear this language where it's like they make like weird clicking,
like clicking noises and all that jazz.
And you're like, how do you even how is this a language? It's so alien.
Like, at least Irish, it is. If it's just the spelling's absolutely fucking appalling. That's the only problem, I suppose. Irish isn't actually that far off. Like, you know, the noises are all the same, relatively speaking. It's just the way they put together the, like, vowels. Never heard of you. You know what I mean? Like, if you look at any Irish spelling, it's just way out there. You know what I mean? Like,
well, and I bet if you were to get like the average Mexican in Mexico to look at some of these words, like, some of them would even struggle, depending on where they're at. You know, some of them would even struggle with these words, because it's not Latin based. Like, Spanish is a Latin based language, and so, you know, there's you know, it's hard. It's a hard language. It's a hard dead language that no one really speaks anymore.
Yeah. So. All right. Let's keep going then, will we? So, women. Well, I suppose we already spoke about that a wee bit. Is there anything you want to add here?
I just go into more greater detail about women's role in societies and stuff like that. It seemed like it was important to touch on that. So
yeah, makes sense.
At least for setting material.
All right. Okay. Nothing too egregious anyway. What's that? Flower Wars?
So Flower Wars were wars. They were not fought for territory, but they were fought for captives and sacrifice victims. So they would organize.
So it's like organized Eden then, essentially, is it? Or like piracy?
Essentially. So, like, there would be like competitions and events that would precede the actual fight, the actual physical combat between warriors, and it was a chance for warriors to try different tactics, different skills, and again, it was sometimes fought between rival city states, sometimes even fought between you know, allied ones, again for the ability to capture sacrifice victims, warriors from an opposing side,
for the pure band.
So,
you know, that's something that I talk to a lot of people about. I think one of the best ones I always use is how different civilizations rub off on each other, and this friction no matter what. So, like, the ultimate one would be like Apache and stuff like that. To them, the idea of stealing a horse is just a bit of fun. You know what I mean? Like, dude, that's just part of their lifestyle. It's like, what are you on about? I stole the horse. You can steal it back. You know, it's a bit of fun. You know what I mean? It's not like it's only a horse. It doesn't really matter. We hang horse thieves, though. it's a bit of an issue. Do you know what I mean? Like, you're going to get friction.
Yeah.
Like, the two societies that have just got very, very different. What would be the right word? Like values per se. I don't know. Maybe that. Well, yeah, values, I suppose, or like worldviews, and their worldviews are just completely incompatible with each other. You know what I mean? And then you're going to get issues from that. You know.
Yeah.
So anyway, look, let's keep going then. I will put out here. This sounds like a really shit version of the Where the Losers, just saying. But here, look, I had to make the joke. I'm sorry. Capture of warriors, expansionism, military service, social ladder. Anyway, you know what? We're gonna get stuck talking about this. Let's get back to the main parts, will we? This is all the stuff. Like, if you guys are interested in this type of stuff, what's the price of the PDF? I think it's a tenner, isn't it?
$10 on the Kickstarter, yeah.
So then you know what I mean. I think it would be worth it just for this stuff alone, anyway. So anyway, we've got a timeline of events, do we?
I got a little quick timeline of events that kind of shows the major things within the Aztec Empire just up until the Spanish arrived.
Oh, right, okay.
So,
all right, well, let's keep going. Have you done anything with the conquistadors at all? Like, do you think you're going to add that in as like a separate book, like an expansion to it at some stage?
Probably be an expansion. At one point, I was going to include them in the book, but it was messing stuff up.
Yeah.
I wanted to get the Aztecs classes and the Aztec society and the mechanics down perfectly to represent them well. And then when I figured that out, I was like, it'll be easier to overlay the Spanish over the top of that because that's so much more familiar. The Aztecs are just so alien to us that it was and as you can see here, you got from 1200 AD to 1517 AD to run adventures if you want to go like hard historical campaign, and the conquest took like 2 years. That's not a lot of campaign time, of in-game time for stuff to happen. So there's so much stuff within this with conflicts and betrayals and political intrigue that occurred that you could do during just the Aztecs themselves, that it just seemed like there's a lot to be mined there. And then to me, in my mind, the Spanish are just sort of like tagline as far as the grand scheme of the history of the Aztecs are concerned. They're just sort of like a little addendum at the end of it. Really, I mean, it was the cause of it, but their history was so much more than that.
Yeah. Well, I think what the problem is. I think it's where people go the most. You know what I mean? It's like what do you know about the Aztecs? The Spanish. Do you know what I mean? Like, sadly, that's I think that's where like a lot of people just focus their history on. You know what I mean? Or at least, like, I don't know about school, and like, I'd never. Let me think. What did we do in school? For me, for history, when it came to, we did a wee bit about the Mexico and US in World War One, and the only other bit of American history I think we did was Vietnam, I think. But after that, we never really did anything. But again, like, what would a history class in the UK have to do with fucking, like, Mesoamerica? Let's be serious. You know what I mean? But anyway, look, let's keep going. So we got more about. What's all that? I know some of these words. Aztec empires. Let's keep going. Again, that's like, what would you call the term like Aztec? Is it like an umbrella term and then you've got all these different empires within them, or like all these city states?
Yeah. So the Aztecs didn't actually call themselves Aztecs. They called themselves Mexica. Within Nahuatl, the X makes the SH sound. So they called themselves the Mexica people. Aztecs was something that was invented a bit later. They didn't really call themselves that, but we know them as Aztecs, so I use the term Aztec in here. But you could equate, like, because there was like the Zapotec people, the Mayans were sometimes skirmishing with them as well. So there's you'd have to liken the Aztec Empire to the Roman Empire in a where there's like this central city, there's this central place, and a central ethnicity that sort of rules over a bunch of tribute cities and tribute countries and things like that. That's really what their empire was like. It was closer to the it was really similar in a lot of ways to the Roman Empire.
Yeah.
People need like a more familiar Western analog to come to.
Are you telling me there's a difference between like South American people? What? I thought they were all the same ethnicity. It's one of those. Well, it's kind of funny. Like that's something that I think a lot of people. I talk to a lot of Americans, and a lot of Americans talk to me about Northern Ireland and the Troubles and all that sort of stuff. And a lot of people always try and say to me, "It's like, no, James, it was a religious war." It's like it wasn't religious. I think religion was just the easiest identifier. I would argue it was a lease war. So I would, if I be honest, I would call it a lease war. It was just that, again, religion was the easiest way to define the two peoples. Does that make sense? But anyway,
Yeah.
let's keep going before I end up getting into more issues. Look, this is a problem that I've got with live streams, man. Anytime I do a live stream, it's like, oh, I have to be on good behavior. Because anytime I'm drinking and I do a live stream, it's like, yeah, just gonna delete that. Let's just forget that ever happened, guys. I'm sorry. You know what I mean? Here we go. So here's your hex maps. So what scale are these hexes, by the way? I must ask.
It's not exactly 1-to-1 to Mexico, but it worked out close enough. So on the map on the left, those are 18-mile hexes. The map on the right is a zoomed-in version of those hexes, and so they're about 6-mile hexes within them. It's a little bit smaller, but I like that division of 6 and 18. I think 6-mile hexes are cool.
Yeah.
So I tried to go that route with it, and it's close enough to where it's close enough to the landmass of Mexico as far as scale is concerned, where it's good enough.
Yeah, I did a hex map a while back for Burger Punk, and I made one for America, and it's absolutely huge. I scaled it to 100 miles a hex, and Jesus fuck, there's so many hexes, man. It's I didn't expect. I was like 100 miles. That's all right. You know what I mean? That sounds reasonable. And then I started doing it. I'm like, oh my god, what the fuck have I done? You know what I mean? It's so bad.
Yeah.
It's like, oh my god, what I thought this book was going to be easy. What have I? There's fucking hundreds of these hexes I have to do now. But anyway, let's keep going. So how many hex maps you got? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14. Oh, there we go. Fuck me, that's a lot of hex maps, man. Do you plan on doing like a printout at all? Like, do you think you're going to do like a
I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to include the maps is a digital file for download. When you buy the PDF, there'll be like probably a zip file of just the JPEG images of these and the character sheet and all that kind of stuff. So
yeah, it's easy to be able to work with. That's one problem I've always had with hex maps, like IRL. Like, it's easy to do them on like virtual tabletop, you know what I mean, because you can mark them down and forget about it. But when it comes to like IRL games, it can be a bit like, you know what I mean, it just gets messy, you know what I mean. But anyway,
maybe one
one
thing I can do too is I made these maps in Worldographer, which is a really cool mapping hex map program for like this kind of stuff. Maybe I could throw in the Worldographer file for people too, so that they can print up as big of a map as they want themselves from that. They can zoom in really close and then export it to like a really high res PNG probably, and take it to Kinko's or something and print it. So
yeah. Anyway, let's keep going then. Well, wait. So what else do we have? Oh, herbalism and medicine. So we were talking about this water medicine, soap, water outlets. Anything here worth bringing up? Is there anything you want to talk about, or is this just your basic stuff, or is there anything like you want to point out?
It's funny. I give 20 herbs here. I'll just say like 20 herbs. Some of them are poisonous. Some of them are beneficial. They'll act as like healing potions almost in the game. But it was funny because all of these are taken. I took them from codices, a Spanish codice that went through all of the herbs and plants that they had discovered in the New World when they arrived in Valley of Mexico. And it was starting to get hard because, and I said this on another stream where I was like, oh, here's a cool herb, and I'm starting reading it. It's like, oh, this one causes diarrhea.
Oh no! Oh no!
Here's another herb. Oh, this one causes diarrhea too. It was like, I can't have like 50 herbs that all just do the same thing of causing diarrhea. So, yeah.
It is what it is.
I limited it to 20, and I felt like 20 is enough. players stumble across something, you can roll a d20 and find an herb or something that has an effect.
Well,
They're searching for that.
come to think of it, have you seen that? So I've been running the fecal lands from Lamentations. Do you know what it is? Have you heard about it? It's
Say it again.
The fecal lands. I don't know if I. You know what? I'll just send you it out after the stream. I don't know. Like, it's not worth talking.
I've
about.
I've never heard of it. I'm not that into Lamentations. But I've not. I own Death, Frost, Doom, and I own the PDFs of the core rulebooks, but I've not actually played it. So
you mess it. Well, either way, look, fecal lands it's fucked up, man. Honestly, it's like the poo realm. It's really bad. So anyway, I was just saying, like, Dial Harp could totally use that like now. Just saying, man. Like, I could actually completely be okay with that. Anyway, look, let's keep going. I'll send you. You know what? I'll just show you the book after the stream. You won't believe it. Like, it's absolutely revolting. That's all I gotta say. It's genuinely revolting. But I got sent to review, and I'll be straight up with you. I thought, like, whenever I first saw it, I was like, am I really gonna run this? I actually had fun with it. I didn't expect to have fun with it, but I'm having fun with it. So, like, why? How can I say bad about it? I suppose, like, sometimes you get a book and it's like, this looks. I don't know if I'm gonna. I suppose, you know what? Maybe there'll come a day where it's like, James, you're gonna play Fetal, and then I'm gonna play Fetal, and be like, you know what? It wasn't that bad. I don't see what all the fuss is about. But anyway, look, let's keep going. Onions. Wait, are onions from thingy? Because I know potatoes are.
It was listed within the codices, so I would assume there was a natural occurring onion that the Aztecs used.
Oh, I thought
from my research at least.
Because I thought like onions were like, I thought they were Indian or something, if I remember. I'm not too sharp. Anyway, look, let's keep going. So monsters, foes, and myth. So is this like history? Have you put in any like monsters per se, or is all the enemies like real world? You know what I mean?
The way I run the game is most of the time players are going to be fighting other humans, and there's supernatural, crazy, deadly stuff that's in the wilds and the mountains and the jungles that they can encounter that can really mess them up. And that's sort of like a little spice that you throw in every once in a while. But I do try and provide, it's not like a super extensive monster manual here, because, and some of it I just add, like I just thought it'd be fun to add like giant centipedes or like giant crocodiles and things like that, giant horned lizards, because this is like history, but there's that layer of mythology over the top of it. So to me, Aztecs fighting like giant tarantulas is like fun. But on top of that, like you have your human warriors here, so
common
you can adjust
warrior, bandit, eagle warrior, jacker, all that jazz.
So you have like the NPC versions of those, and then the next section after this, the actual. There's no chupacabra in here.
What?
It's kind of.
Man, you know what? That's a stretch goal. Put it in as a stretch goal. Don't be a dick. Just don't be a dick. Just do it. Give the people what they want. I see. That's the other thing I had. Like I was talking about Unga Bunga, and I was working on it, and originally I just wanted to make like a genuine like caveman book, and then a lot of people was like, James, are you putting dinosaurs in? It's like, I don't really want to put dinosaurs in. It's like, James, put dinosaurs in, and it's like, all right, okay, I'll you know what, I'll do like a bit at the back called a director's cut and be like, yeah, there's dinosaurs, they're completely optional, you know what I mean? You can have dinosaurs if you want. I know you guys just want dinosaurs, so fine, you can have it. You're gonna have people that want it, so you may as well. Like, don't disappoint. That's all I can say.
That's a slippery slope.
Oh, what about
like,
chihuahuas? Someone said about he said about chihuahuas. Have you put any of them in?
I mentioned dogs. Dogs were used as food. Chihuahuas were bred small because they ate them. So,
like hamsters.
Yeah, they ate chihuahuas.
Or is it guinea pigs?
That's why.
Is it guinea pigs or hamsters? I can't remember.
Guinea pigs were in Peru, I believe.
Oh, were they?
So that's a delicacy in Peru. But the Aztecs ate chihuahuas.
Oh,
so.
Big sad. That's one thing I always find really interesting, because a lot of the New World dogs died. Like, there's very few breeds of them left. You know what I mean? I think there's only like 4, 5, 6 maybe, if even. There's very few. Most of them don't exist anymore, which I was like, kind of, it's a shame. You know what I mean? It's one of those ones. It's always sad when you see something gone forever, you know. But anyway, so that's your monster manual. We got some monsters here. So this is your actual like. Who's this guy? Tell me who this guy is. This
the Quatlacas or the
Bigfoot.
Macuahuitl.
Totally not Bigfoot.
It's Bigfoot. It's Mexican Bigfoot. So there's no there's so here's the thing I went with this here to try and explain this. So the people of the second son were considered evil people. They didn't respect the gods, and that was the reason why their son ended and the world ended, is because they were considered disrespectful and didn't honor the gods. So their punishment was that they are turned into monkeys, and I thought it would be fun and interesting because I needed more monsters too, because I didn't want the players fighting gods. I thought that would be just, it's kind of silly in this setting. That makes no sense. So I thought it'd be interesting if those creatures were still like hidden in the valleys, hidden in the mountains, hidden in the jungles, and they hate the new humans that the gods have created, that are their new like pet humans. The gods hated them, the gods wiped them out, and now they're just like these vile goblin. They're essentially like the orcs and goblins of the setting.
Right, putty man from like Power Rangers, you know. that's I've converted to call them, like, you know, it's like, what am I going up against? Like the putty man. That's pretty much it. You guys know exactly what the putty man are. It's like, yeah, okay, there you guys go. That's what we're dealing with. Anyway, look, let's keep going then, will we? So we got some more. I like the artwork.
So there's a lot of.
I really like the artwork, I must say. Who's this guy here? This like undead sort of guy with a big tongue.
So Ishpushteki was sort of considered like the Spanish pretty much said like that guy is Satan. Pretty much this guy, if you encounter him, your party's pretty much dead. You're pretty much screwed. He had like bird legs, and he went around. He would just like come out from Mictlan, the underworld, and just curse people for fun, and just ruin their lives and their days for fun.
Oh Jesus! Here, what's this? Is this like some from a sneak deck you got on this wee fella here? Is this like, you know what this reminds me of? Have you ever seen like the old picture for like, you know, like Yahweh? Have you ever seen that one? Like the super old picture of God?
Well, the Quihateteo are and the Tismitzmitl are they're like female spirits. It's not this is based off of a real drawing that were in the codices that the Aztec people drew. She's known as like women of the snake skirts. They had like skirts made of snakes, and that's how they drew her in the codices. So
it's kind of
they're pretty terrible. They do like level drain. They cause they're not fun to encounter.
No.
So.
Like, you know what that kind of reminds me of? Do you remember? I think it was Venetians that came across gorillas, and they called them the tribe of hairy women. Do you know that one?
I've not heard that.
Oh, it's like the first time Mediterraneans or like North Africans came in contact with gorillas. They went around and they sailed by like the Congo, and they saw a lot of gorillas, and they called them. Essentially, it translates to the tribe of hairy women. You know, I thought that was funny. So that's like the first semi-European accounts of gorillas. You should check it out. I'll see if I can link it after. You know, but anyway, it kind of reminds me of that. You know. So we got some more monsters. There's a good whack here. There's more than what you think. Like, you know what I mean? For all, like, you know, considering you were saying, like, oh, there's not that much. Like, yeah, there's a good few pages. You know, good few pages so far. So anyway, treasure. So you were talking more about respect and stuff like that. Or not respect. What's your word for it?
Status points.
Oh, status points. I'm thinking of Grove Street, so I am. You need to make like a Mesoamerican, like what musical instruments would they have? Was like drums and stuff?
They had drums, they had flutes, different things like that.
You need to make a wee tune, so you do, for like mission complete, so you do, you know. It's just
I should actually add, there's an album that you can get on Music Wise. It's called Aztec Dances. You can get it. You can read it. Listen to it on Spotify. That would be good background music for this game. I should add that to the list of resources. Actually,
yeah, throw it in. So anyway, like treasures. Oh no, you go for it. What were you going to say?
I'll say, and then pan flute. So Ed O says pan flute. Yeah, they had different kind of flutes like that as well.
Yeah.
So.
Anyway, let's keep going. So we got treasures. So any like magic items you've went for? Is there any like legendary swords from like Aztec mythology that you've put in, or anything like that?
I put in a few example enchantments and abilities here for these to sort of overlay over basic weapons, or if like you have a +1 weapon with a special ability, you can be like it's a +1 weapon with this specific thing here.
Hmm.
Uh, so I do give that here, and it pretty much I put this here so that if you're like raiding, maybe you're raiding an enemy temple or something like that, you can find artifacts or something, or if you're delving into some like Toltec or Olmec temple ruins or something like that, looking for artifacts to bring back, you can find these sorts of weapons and armor there as well. So that was sort of the thinking behind this, because it's still based on D&D. It's still 0e
Yeah.
rules under the hood, and treasure tables and finding stuff like that is you need that in a game like this still.
Yeah.
The setting, regardless of the setting, you need that.
Just makes it work. You know what I mean? So
Yeah.
let's keep going. Examples of magical effects armor. Let's keep going. Here we go. You've got your calendar, so you do, which as you say you want to really make full use of. Oh, here we go. We've got appendix of resources. I'm disappointed. You should put in you should just put in apocalyptic just for the band. Just do it. Just fucking do it. It would just be funny at this point. See if anyone notices. See if anyone actually. All right, it's like this guy put an apocalypse. What the fuck? You might get a few funny ones from that. And then an index, quite nice. Indexes, it's one of those ones. It's hit or miss for me. Sometimes I use them all the time, and sometimes I never touch them. It's just hard. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I put it. I felt like I had to put it in. I'm not very good at building indexes, but I went with it. And it's hyperlinked, so like you can click on the page number here if you have the PDF, and it will take you to that page. So the whole PDF too. We didn't really talk about that. The PDF is hyperlinked as well.
You need it. You need that in this day and age. See, just clicking
that,
about.
That's
it's a nightmare.
That's a must. I feel like for finding things. So you have Control F, which is always nice in a PDF, but having hyperlink stuff within is good.
Then what's this map here? I must ask.
That's Tenochtitlan. That was the main city in the Triple City Alliance. I just felt it would be important to include that one as a map, as probably most adventures are going to come out of this area. So it'd be nice to have a little artifact map of the island. Pretty much, they built their capital city on a man-made island in the middle of Lake Texcoco, which is what made them very hard to assault and defeat, because essentially the lake acted as a moat for them. So good luck getting to them.
So that's the book then. We've pretty much went over it. And then we've got your backers page, of course. So I'm gonna throw up your Kickstarter. So I think we've went over the book, like what exactly you get, what it's all about. And I think honestly, if it's something that you're interested in, I think there's a lot of utility you've got here, because again, one of the biggest things is I feel like Mesoamerica is just something that is overlooked so much. It's just something that a lot of people just don't look into. You know what I mean? So I'm going to throw up your Kickstarter here, and will we talk about your tiers and all that sort of stuff? Because I think honestly, we've kind of went over everything. I think if people are interested, I think you've got a really good price point for all this sort of stuff. So you get what I'm trying to say. I think if you're interested in it, sort of thing. If you've stayed here for this live stream for this long, I would say check it out. Although I totally have a Kickstarter going at the minute, which you guys should probably check out. But anyway. So what are your tiers then? Because I won't bother going over what you've done here, because we've talked about all that.
Yeah, we went over it. So pretty much the lowest tier where you get something is the print on demand version.
Yeah.
So you get the PDF there, $10. Then you have the print on demand plus PDF, $12. Again, you have to pay for at cost printing from DriveThruRPG, which will be very inexpensive. It won't be that much more on top of the 12.
I was thinking, were you gonna go for? I was thinking you would go for your own website. You know what I mean? Because you've got a pretty nice website set up. We've got
it will probably after releases, and I'm thinking that the book will be private until everyone gets their book is what I'm going to do, because think that's the only fair thing to do to backers is wait until at least everyone gets their print on demand before I release it to the public for them to consume.
Yeah.
And then obviously the hardbacks, they're offset print, and that's going to take a bit longer. But,
Oh, so what material are you going for these hardbacks? Are you doing like any fancy material for them or what? Or
it's going to be a black cover, red foiling on it, in that kind of look like what I mocked up here. This is the goal here. Red foiling on the cover, nice page weight. It's going to have it's going to be Smith sewn with a red ribbon is the goal here. So be a nice offset hardcover print that hopefully people will be happy with.
yeah.
And I got a good printer. It's funny, I'm here in the States, and I tried to get this printed in the United States, and no one wanted to talk to me about it. So,
Why?
but a Lithuanian, yeah, no one wanted to do it. But a Lithuanian company, they've done some stuff for Free League and stuff like that. They're the same company that Free League uses
All right.
for some of their books.
Free League does really good quality to the day, I must say.
Yeah, and I like Free League's books. So this Lithuanian company, I think they did the Alien RPG book, and they're doing this one. They gave me a really good price. It was still cheaper to go with them and have them import it into the United States than to go with a U.S. printer. Yeah. So U.S. printers need to get their act together.
I know. Well,
kind of sad.
How many books are you aiming to get ordered? Like, I'm going to assume this hardback is a limited run.
Yeah, I'm probably going to keep the hardback limited. I'm looking at 500,
right.
But I'll do more. Obviously, if more than 500 people back the hardback, like
yeah, well,
more than 500. But yeah, 500. And I after I print these and they're sold, like I'm thinking that's probably going to be it for this. Yeah. It'll be available as print on demand forever, probably. But and unless there's real big demand for like a second printing of the hardback, like. Will probably be it.
Yeah, that's the problem I've got. Like, I see when it comes to like, it's just impossible. Like, see for like small time indie creators, it's all like you're just not going to be able to have your books in stock all the time. You know what I mean? It's just impossible without print on demand. And for a lot of the time, I'm like, oh, I would really just like my books to have like that higher end quality type of stuff, but you just can't get that from print on demand. Like, not to say print on demand has its own qualities to itself, you know what I mean? It isn't that it's bad or horrible, because I've got tons of print on demand books, but I love a good book. I love an RPG book that wants to be picked up. Does that make sense?
Yeah, I view print on demand as like it's a good version of a book to just abuse at the table.
Yeah.
So that's why I offer a tier where I offer both print on demand, PDF and pod, so that like, okay, you can have the nice version for you as the referee, and then your players can get not the crappy version, but they can get their they can get their Dorito. yeah, they can get their Cheeto Dorito hands all over the print on demand one, and they don't have to soil your nice hardcover. Yeah. So.
That sounds good. So I think that's where we're going to come to an end. However, do you guys have any questions? Is there anything that hasn't been talked about? Is there anything, John, that you feel like you want to reiterate, or anything? I think we'll go for another. What time is it here? Let me just look at our run time. We've been on for an hour 40, so we'll do like another 5 to 10 minutes, just.
Yeah, I just want to say thank you to everyone. This is kind of a shot in the dark for me. It was a passion project. Like you said, Mesoamerica is sort of hard. It's hard to know, is there a market for people that want this kind of thing or not? Because no one really does anything for it.
I don't know. I know a lot of Hispanics. Like, I know, like I would say about easily a third of the people I play role-playing games with that are American are Hispanic. So I would say there's more than enough people that I think that would have some form of connection to it.
Yeah, and so I'm just thankful that people are supportive, and even despite a few little hiccups and attempts to sort of sabotage this thing, they've amounted to nothing, and people really rallied around this. I'm just overblown and super thankful for people that wanted to back this and support this. It means a lot to me.
Well, it's always nice. There's nothing better than like working on something and then people actually liking it. You know what I mean? It's like, you like me, you really like me. You know what I mean? It's that sort of thing. But people always take the piss out of that. Like, people are always like, oh, but like, honestly, I think a lot of people need to be put in that chair where it's like, oh my god, this is actually doing amazing. Like, oh my god, what the fuck is going on here? You know what I mean? It's like, you just can't. It's hard to believe until you actually do it, and then it's like, oh my god, thanks, Jesus fuck. It feels really weird, but I think it's just something that kind of happens.
I was thinking this would be a nail biter till the end, and it's not. I was thinking like I'm going to be struggling.
How many days? So 21 days. You got backed. When was it? So you
got backed within 6 days.
That's pretty fucking sweet.
Within 6 days,
and you're on near $11,500. So you've still got a long way to go. I think. Well, you know what? I'm not going to jinx you or anything. I just won't jinx you, but I think you've got a long way to go. Although I will say, one thing that I'm definitely going to keep doing is I did my first Kickstarter. I did for 30 days. And Garblu did his one for 60 days, but with his 60-day one, his one did so much better. So his after 30 days was really good. I would say it was a big success, but I think doing the 60 days was 100% worth it because he went up by like an extra third. So he did. And the way I think about it is, think of it like this: it's like you're giving people 2 paychecks. You know what I mean? Like, people that are paid monthly. What happens if a month comes in and like your car shits itself? It's like, yeah, I'm not buying any fucking Kickstarters this month. Simple as. You know what I mean? Like, if your car, you know what I mean? Yeah. There's always something like an unexpected bill. That type of thing happens. So that's why I'm kind of leaning way more on 60 days. So it gives people like, they're like, you know what? I'm really interested in it, but like, there's just, oh no, I want to go out this weekend. It's my wife's birthday. Kids, you know what I mean? There's always something that like you can't spend the extra money on, but like that I think given it that extra 30 days, I think it's well worth it. You know what I mean? But I think it's doing really well for you anyway. Like, honestly, like, I'm happy that it's doing so well.
I am too.
But I'm not, as I say, I'm not going to jinx you. I think it's got a long way to go though. But I'd say I don't want to say where I think it'll go to. Just because then the second someone says that to you, it's like, oh, it's going to hit like 50 billion, you know what I mean? And then it's like, oh, don't do that to me, man, don't do that. But anyway, like, it's ready. Can I fight a T-Rex? Yes, you can, Sneak Dude. I believe in you. Can you become
for Noggle 1992? I have not mentioned the Tarascans in this. I don't know much about them. I just know that metal weapons are pretty rare within the Mesoamerican society. Because to make copper weapons, for instance, you have to combine different alloys, and a lot of these cultures just did not bother with that. So that is something that maybe I could look into in the future as like an adventure module or something, or adding classes from that. The Tlaxcala, they are mentioned in the rule book, but I don't go into this great depth about them just because this is about Aztecs.
So what other... So this book, of course, I don't want to go too much into it, but you say you're kind of thinking about doing maybe like a Conquistador expansion to this book in the future. Do you have any other ideas? Like, are you going to do any... Is this like a standalone book, or do you want this to be like a semi thing as part of your like release schedule? Because I know you already do Cowpunchers and Atomic Punk. Do you want to talk about them actually? Do you want to bring up them books that you do? That are
sure,
right, if you,
I can mention them. Yeah, if you want to I'll just mention them real quick. Atomic Punk is like a
Fallout.
2D10. It's like
it's Fallout.
It's a mix of like it's Fallout with the serial numbers filed off purposefully.
Yeah.
Mostly because I wasn't happy with the 2D10 version, and I like old school games, so it's kind of a mix between BX, white box like this, and Traveler with the 2D10. So everything's based on this like bell curve, a target number mechanic. Cowpunchers is D6 dice pool game. It's not Weird West or anything. You're just a cowboy if you want to play that kind of game. For Macuahuitl, I want to do more with it for sure, but I didn't want to like shortchange people either. I wanted to give you enough to where you felt like you were like, oh well, now I have to wait for this thing, you know, to run a complete game. Like, I didn't want to do that. I felt like I gave enough, hopefully, for people to feel like they can run a complete game.
Yeah, I've got that with Death March. I think the way I want to do it is I want it to be a completely standalone book. I want it to just be people buy the book and you've got absolutely everything for it. However, in time, I would like it to be the system that I use for not quite present day, but most like my what I mean, like turn of the century sort of
Sure.
settings, like what I mean, because I've got an idea for like a Marie Curie, mad science sort of adventure, and like that's definitely it doesn't fit in to Death March, but like you could definitely like use the rule set for that. Does that make sense? So I think I'm gonna use.
Yeah.
I think I'm gonna put out like adventures using the rule set. Does that make sense in the future? But I want Death March to be its complete 100% its own thing because there's just something in me that I fucking hate it whenever I buy a book and then I'm reading it. I'm like, I need like 5 other books to be able to run this system, don't I? It's like, yeah, you do. It's like, oh, don't do this shit to me, man. Especially.
Yeah, I wanted to give you.
Oh no, you go for it.
I want to. Well, I wanted to give players enough to like, here's the basic classes for Aztecs. Here's some basic monsters, not even just basic monsters, but enough monsters for this style of game as far as like I envision it, or a gritty, semi-historical with that layer of mythicalness over it. And I wanted it to be like enough, and then anything that I make beyond it for it isn't required, but it's icing on the cake. It's the cherry on top that if you want to have that, you can. Yeah. So
also, do you think the Conquistador one, do you think it will be, as you say, will it be a standalone? Could you just buy that if you wanted to run a Conquistador game, or would you need this book as well with that? Does that make sense?
I'd probably do that, as you'd still need Macuahuitl for like the Aztec side of things. So like it'd be the Conquistador equipment, classes, so some rules that would make them unique and special in relation to the Aztecs, and the history that you'd need to have the background for them and everything. Kind of like it'd be a more like smaller version of this. I wouldn't have like attack roll rules and saving throws. Like that would all be in this book.
Yeah.
So.
All right. Any other questions? Is there anything at all, or is there anything you want to bring up? Let's see.
No, again, just thank you, everyone. I'm blown away. Thank you.
Yeah, it's done really well. So I hope you guys are interested in it. I think it's pretty cool anyway. You know what I mean? I think it's doing really well. And it's always nice to see that. What's so disheartening? See, whenever I go on Kickstarter and like I see, there was one that I saw, it was like 5e lewd rules, you know what I mean, for like ERP sessions and stuff, and it made like 500,000. I'm like, is this really where we're at, guys? Is this really where we're at? But like I suppose like it's 5e, it's popular, but I just don't really like 5e anymore. Like I think me and you have a very similar experience with it, where we played it for a while, but like I don't know, I feel like I've done everything that I've wanted to with 5e, you know what I mean? And now I pretty much just play my own system with like Lamentations Adventures. That's pretty much what I do.
Yeah, I think 5e is a fine game. If Vic or someone else came to me and said play in my 5e game,
it's like if someone comes to me with an idea, or if it's like someone that I'm actually meets with, you know what I mean? Like comes with it. I'm not completely against it, but at the same time, I'm never gonna DM it. Does that make sense? I'm never gonna be like, oh yeah, I want to run this using 5e. It's like, yeah, I'll just run something else. You know what I mean? But if someone came to me with an idea, I wouldn't be opposed.
Yeah, I'd be like, oh, that sounds interesting. Sure, I'll play in your game, but I don't have any. I'm firmly into like old school D&D, old school RPGs and stuff like right now. That's where I'm finding the most fun myself. So. Oh yeah.
So anyway, so I'm sorry. I'm sorry, John. It looks like Sneaked says you're gonna have to do the lewd goals. You're gonna have to do the artwork for that. Here, I will put this out here. So, one of my things that I was looking into when I was reading about World War One was I've only got the numbers for British. All this sort of stuff for like French and German, it's all in French or German, and I don't speak French or German, so I can't really get the stats on that. But you guys will find this interesting, and I've said this before. But Trenchfoot, it's really well known. Everyone knows about it. It's one of those like hallmarks of World War I, isn't it? And looking at the stats, I think it was either 70,000 or 80,000 British soldiers suffered from Trenchfoot. 500,000 suffered from syphilis. So that's a thing, guys. So maybe I'll throw in, like, you know what? Maybe you can get a constitution save. How does that sound? That's the best I can do. Or do you guys want? It's like, yeah, you're gonna have to roll dice on how you fuck this French plus shit, guys. I'm sorry. You know what I mean? So yeah, that might be a thing, John. I'm sorry. We'll find out. We'll find out. Only time will tell. But yeah, look, I hope you guys check out this book. I'm just going to call it Sword. So I am, because it's kind of like Sword Club, okay? Anything else? No. Look, I hope you guys enjoyed this one. All the links to all this stuff is down below. John has a YouTube channel. I will say, John did a really good video. Was it last week or the week before, talking about tier lists? And I actually thought it was one of the best takes I've seen in a while.
Thank you.
Normally it's like either they're horrible or they're not, but like I think the term target as came about, it's like anyone who's new, and I think like hobbies will just fucking die if you're completely opposed to anyone. And everyone starts somewhere, you know what I mean? Like, let's not try to fucking kid ourselves. Like, oh, anyone who started playing after 2003 isn't like, ugh, you know what I mean? It's like, fuck off, man. Seriously, suck my dick. You know, I can't stand that type of stuff. But I think your take on it, or the way you put it across, is probably the best way I've seen it been said yet. You know what I mean? Because people either be like, oh yeah, it's a great, or oh, it's horrible, or oh, that's a bigoted word, or you know what I mean? It's kind of funny actually, because like, so I've went through different phases online where it's like, I think one of the first ones was people hit me with, oh, James is a Turgist or whatever, and then after that it's like, no, James is no. See, this is the problem I've got. I never really fit in anywhere. You know what I mean? So like, whenever I play, like, so all my like normie friends, like, say I'm a neckbeard, or because like none of them are interested in role playing games and all that sort of stuff, and even like the people in like my local game stores are all like 5e normies. You know what I mean? So I don't really fit in there. But then whenever I go online, it's like, James plays Morkborg. Ew. He's a normie. Ew. It's like, guys, can I not fit in anywhere? You know what I mean? It's like, you don't play Glows as Written. Ew. Disgusting. You know what I mean? Like, anyway, look, I hope you guys enjoy this one. Check out this Kickstarter. Also, check out my Kickstarter, because, like, you know, hey, it's the thing. Check out John's channel, because it's worth checking out. He does do some good ones, so he does. Although I will say you're wrong, actually, John. I like the new Star Wars game, the Fantasy Flight one. Although I've never played the old one, so I don't really know anything about that one. But I do think the new one's actually good.
I think if the new one didn't require so much specialty dice,
yeah. Well,
I'd be more about it. But,
I like the dice though. I really like the threat. I like the way the dice kind of generate more. I don't know. I know, like, you know, people always say like the dice generate the story, but I feel like Fantasy Flight was the first time I came across a game where the dice telling the story really told the story for me. Does that make sense? I really enjoyed it anyway, and I've had a few fun sessions. But anyway, look, we'll call quits here. If there's any comments, I'm sure John can get back to you in the comments down below and all that jazz. So we'll see you guys later, alright? So this is going to be the audio off. Bye-bye.